Now let's talk about some of the network encryption technologies that are out there for us to use when sending data securely across networks in the internet. We'll talk about a few different technologies, but understand that there are probably many different kinds of technologies out there, and some of these can be integrated with other technologies to provide secure end solutions. We'll look at hardware encryption devices, secure sockets layer, IPsec, and secure shell. First of all, let's discuss hardware encryption devices. Now, hardware encryption devices are basically black boxes that serve no other function other to encrypt data between two links, between two stations. The entire link between those stations, between those two computers or networks, is encrypted. And this happens at the physical layer. All bits, all ones and zeros that are transmitted back and forth across the wire are encrypted as they are transmitted and received. Now, this kind of encryption doesn't care what kind of traffic you're sending. It doesn't care if it's an email or graphics file or whatever. It doesn't care. It sends everything that's sent across the wire in an encrypted form. And these two boxes on either end basically have their own keys and have their own timing set up such that they can encrypt and decrypt automatically with very little human intervention, although humans are required to load the keys, and the keys have to be synced up. Usually you don't see people every day using hardware link encryption devices. Usually those are reserved for larger organizations, especially the military, the Department of Defense, for example, or very, very large companies. It's very expensive, and they're not very practical for everyday use. Your ordinary average citizen is not going to have hardware encryption devices sitting around their house. Now, another technology that you will see in wide use is secure sockets layer, or SSL as we call it. Primarily, secure sockets layer is used for secure website communications. You've probably all used it even though you might not have known it at the time. If you've ever been to a site, a secure site that starts out with HTTPS, such as a site for your webmail, your Yahoo Mail, or your Hotmail or whatever, or if you've been to a site such as an online banking site or even an online shopping site such as Amazon.com or Walmart.com, or any site where you would send private information such as a credit card number or whatever, you've used a site that uses SSL because that is the most common technology for secure website communications. So whenever you see a website that starts out with HTTPS instead of just the normal HTTP, that site is using SSL. Now again, we most commonly see it when conducting secure financial transactions or when we're logging into a website that requires a login and a password. Now SSL uses what we call digital certificate technologies, and we'll talk a little bit more about digital certificates a little bit later, but essentially they provide a means for a website to authenticate itself or positively identify itself to a user and to secure the communication session by encrypting data. Now, digital signatures, or rather digital certificates, can also provide authentication for the client as well, and again, they will encrypt or assist in the encryption of data sent back and forth between the web server and the client, and they will authenticate the web server to the client so that you wouldn't accidentally go to a fake website, for example, that was claiming to be a certain site, and then you would send all your credit card data or whatever to that site. That SSL makes it difficult to do that. Now, another technology that we'll talk about is IPsec, or IP security as we call it. Now, IPsec support is built into most operating systems that are on the market today, including Windows especially, but also Linux and Mac OS. Now, IPsec, basically what it does is it has the ability to encrypt traffic between two computers or even between two networks, or it can encrypt traffic all over a network, for example. An administrator usually has to set this up, but it can be configured to provide link encryption or just session encryption. It can be configured to encrypt only certain kinds of network traffic, such as file sharing. Normally, file sharing is a very vulnerable process because files can be intercepted. Well, if you use IPsec to encrypt those files as they're sent across the network, then you've protected that data. Now, Secure Shell, the last technology we'll talk about during this session, basically is a technology that was created to replace some of the older, more unsecure technologies that were in use a while back, Telnet and FTP, for example. These technologies are often used to share files across the internet or the network, or to remotely administer servers. Unfortunately, they're very unsecure because they don't send data encrypted at all. If you use a username or password with these technologies, they will send it in plain text. So so it's easily intercepted. Now, Secure Shell comes native on Linux, and it can be installed in Windows. As a matter of fact, there's freeware Secure Shell programs such as OpenSSH that can be installed on Windows. Now again, Secure Shell provides utilities. It's actually a suite of utilities that enable you to securely log into a server or another computer, to securely transfer files back and forth between two computers, and to securely copy files back and forth between two computers. So Secure Shell is a very popular technology that previously Linux users and Unix users were using, but now more and more Windows users are using also.